Welcome, everyone under the sun and over the moon, to the Average Joe podcast, where I'm not average and you're not Joe, so together, I think we make a good team. I am your host, the Average Joe, and today I have something extra special to talk about. If you are listening to me for the first time, this podcast covers a range of topics depending on how I feel and what the audience demands, and today, the audience demand is esports. If you haven't heard about esports, don't worry about it. That's what this podcast is for. Let me explain a little bit of something for you here. Esports is a growing Wild West market. Now, what do I mean by that? Remember when marijuana was legalized for the first few years, we had some innovation, some creativity with its application and how it was distributed before it was strapped down to the more submissive state it is now? Right now, esports is in those first few years of legal marijuana. It is a market that covers not only the states, but the world itself. League of Legends Worlds Tournament last year took place with teams from everywhere, from China to America to South America. We had people from Turkey, Vietnam, Brazil, Europe, Japan. The representation for this game, and just games in general with esports, is worldwide. A market larger, or will eventually be larger, than stuff like the NFL, which, as we all know, is already a massive market. Gaming takes place anywhere there's electricity, which is pretty much everywhere nowadays. It's an integral part of growing up for a lot of people, not just boys, but girls too, and everyone else within and outside of the binary. And it's become a sneaky new pastime for the next aging group of adults in America, at least. Even here in Milwaukee, we have our very own professional esports team, the Milwaukee Esports Alliance, a team that I think really deserves more recognition and can bring a lot to this city and this state. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Why do we care about esports? Well, as a longtime viewer, I'll tell you why. It is the future brought to the present. People in this day and age, especially post-COVID, are having to rely on FaceTime, Discord, Skype, whatever, to interact with family and friends. Esports has the advantage of being able to be taken and viewed anywhere there is internet and electricity. Just like anywhere you have internet and electricity, you can FaceTime, Skype, or Discord interact with your friends and family. Excuse me. And with our economy the way it is today, people just don't have the luxury to spend half a tank of gas to go to a stadium, maybe $60 to tailgate, another $60 to $100 on ticket prices, $10 a beer. Everybody here in Milwaukee knows how expensive beers are at storage stadiums. Don't forget how uncomfy those chairs are. The seats that are packed too close together, made out of metal or some other torturous material they somehow decided was perfect for their fans. And at the end of that 6-hour game you end up watching, you have to spend another half a tank to get home sometimes. That's 3/4 of a paycheck, if not more, for most people. We don't have that kind of money, and we don't have that kind of time anymore. Esports works around these issues, and that's why it is so valuable, and that's why right now we need to capitalize on it. It can be watched from anywhere with the internet. It can be watched from your house, your neighbor's house, old lady Agnes down the street, your friends next door in your apartment. It can be watched on your third shift as you clean out buildings, for example, like I did when I was just graduating and out of high school. It can be watched in a library. It can be listened to on a car ride. Don't watch it on a car ride. Driving and watching, never a good idea. My point is, the internet is everywhere and available and is easy to access. Let me give you a specific example here, right? League of Legends, or LOL for short. LOL tournaments are streamed all over the place, but we're going to focus on Twitch, which is the most massive streaming platform by a mile, and one that pretty much everyone who has a computer knows about. If you don't know about it, don't feel ashamed. We learn throughout our lives, and there's no shame in learning things deep into your twilight years. Now, Twitch has the ease of free access to all who can go to their website, www.twitch.com, or you can just Google Twitch. For free, you can access current or past live streams of these LOL tournaments or any esports tournament and choose to watch them at your leisure or live with friends. Say you have to work in 3 hours and you're going to miss DRX versus T1 simply because of how the scheduling is worked out. That's nothing to worry about. Call whoever you wanted to watch the game with and let them know. Once you're done with work, bam, you guys can bring it up on Twitch. Either watch it together, watch it in person, whatever you want. The content works for you rather than you working around for the content like other sports venues expect. Other sports venues expect you to drop your entire day to enjoy it. Esports says you don't have to drop anything. We will carry the load, and when you are ready, here is content that we have made tailor-made for you. But Joe, you're saying, seated comfortably at home or on your feet trying to make the workday go a little faster? Joe, I get that it's convenient, and it's free, but how do I enjoy watching a game I know nothing about? Well, my fabulous friend, let me tell you how you enjoy a game you know nothing about. Let me explain with a story some of you may be familiar with. Do you remember being a child and seeing either your dad or your mom or some family member sitting in front of the TV in the house or the garage, drinking a beer, maybe smoking a cigarette? Remember the way they yelled and screamed, but you had no idea what they were watching or what it was about? Your parents were suddenly just mad at the box that used to bring you Sagwa and SpongeBob all the time? Some of you may not have taken an interest in what they were screaming about, but others of you probably did, and ended up talking with your parents about it. There was a learning curve when they talked to you, wasn't there? It took time to understand the rules of the game and the players' names. It took time to understand the divisions they were in and how much each play was worth in terms of points or yards or bases or whatever. And it provided a closeness and opened up your relationship with that person as you learn these things. That right there is the experience that you will have enjoying esports. Maybe it will be you and your parents. Maybe you are the parent and you want to relate to your kids, or maybe you just want an excuse to see your friends again. To retether those loose threads of a friendship that have been pulled apart over the years of adulthood and the mundane life you feel stuck in. Getting together either virtually or in person to watch some esports will reinvigorate your soul. Don't worry if you don't immediately know the teams, the players, or even the game, as there are plenty to choose from, and there will be plenty of time to understand. Just like when you first learned about sports, you will absorb that information over time, and you can do it while connecting with others, which is what watching any sport is truly about, isn't it? I think so. Having a hometown team makes it even easier to root for someone. And like I said, we do have the Milwaukee Esports Alliance. Even better than that, the Milwaukee Esports Alliance, their most recent tournament they won was NBA 2K. In 2022, they won an NBA 2K tournament. Now, I don't know if you could tell, but there was NBA in that name. It's a basketball game. Even if you don't know video games, if you are just a regular fan of sports, there is NBA, there is NFL, there is hockey, there is soccer games that teams play tournaments of. And those games don't change the sport. Those games are the sport. So there's a little something for everyone, and that will make your transition even easier. Now, before I sign off tonight, I know there's going to be a sect of people here listening going, well, that's great. I can enjoy the esport. I can listen to the esport wherever I want, whenever I want. It caters to me. That's wonderful. But does it do anything else? Does it bring anything else? Well, I'm going to let you know right now. It brings in the money. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at League of Legends again, for example. In 2022, they had Worlds, which is the World Championship Series, where the best teams from all over the world compete for the grand prize. What was that grand prize, you may ask? For first place, the team that won first place, which was DRX, they won $489,500. The prize pool for all 8 teams was $2,225,000. This is on LOL Fandom for any of you who are curious to if you believe me or not. That's just for the teams, and that's grouped up for those teams. Now imagine how much the actual hosts make. who host these tournaments. Imagine how inexpensive it is when you don't need a stadium that can fit 200,000 people. You only need a stadium that can fit a couple hundred. Easy to move around, easy to monetize. And the memberships, the sponsors are already there. You have Buffalo Wild Wings sponsoring these teams. You have car manufacturers, I should specify, with these teams. You have, just like any other sports team, there is so much money in here. Money that people don't realize is here. So if there's anything I want you to take away from this, it's that, like I said, this is the early years of marijuana here with esports. It is only going to get bigger. It is only going to make more money. Now is better than ever to get involved in your local esports team. For us in Milwaukee, it's the Milwaukee Esports Alliance. I'll say it one more time so people don't forget. Now is the time to get invested. But I've already used up too much of my time, and I'm going a little bit past my allotted amount. I am Joe. This is the Average Joe podcast, and I appreciate you all for listening, and I will see you next time.